Shalom, welcome back to the sequential Zohar series. Today we are in Zohar Bereshit A, chapter 19, and the title is very intense. He created worlds and destroyed them. At first, that sounds almost disturbing. It sounds like the Creator made something, then regretted it, then destroyed it. And immediately, the Zohar pushes us deeper. Because in Kabbalah, we cannot read that sentence in a shallow way. The Creator does not experiment like a human being. God does not build something, panic, and then say, I made a mistake. So the Zohar asks the obvious question. If God knew He would destroy these worlds, why create them at all? And the answer is powerful. The destroyed worlds are not failed planets floating somewhere in space. They are not broken pieces of creation that God abandoned. The Zohar says these worlds refer to souls, states of consciousness, and spiritual structures that cannot endure because they are not aligned with the path of Torah, covenant, mercy, and repair. So already, this chapter is not really about cosmic destruction. It is about inner destruction. It is about the worlds we build inside ourselves that cannot last because they are built on ego, impulse, separation, and dryness. The Zohar begins with the verse, "These are the generations of the heavens and the earth." And it teaches that whenever the Torah says these, in Hebrew, ele, it can cancel what came before. In other words, the Torah is showing us a new order, a corrected order, a generation that survives after an earlier state of chaos. Before this corrected order, the earth was tohu and bohu, formless and void. The Zohar calls these the generations of formlessness. These are the states of being that existed without proper foundation. They had energy, but no vessel. They had movement, but no alignment. They had potential, but no covenant holding them together. This is very important for spiritual life. Not every powerful experience is stable. Not every awakening becomes transformation. A person can feel fire, emotion, vision, inspiration, even mystical intensity. But if there is no vessel, that world collapses. That is why many people have spiritual moments, but not spiritual structure. They feel something for one day, 1 week, 1 season, then it disappears. Why? Because the light came, but the vessel was not ready. the world was created, but it could not stand. The Zohar then says the world is created through Torah. Torah here is not only a book on a shelf. Torah is the divine pattern, the blueprint, the living wisdom by which heaven and earth are held in place. The Zohar connects Bereshit with Bereshit A, covenant of fire. So from the very first word of creation, there is covenant, there is fire, but there is also binding. There is intensity, but there is also order. This is one of the great secrets of this chapter. Creation survives when fire is joined to covenant. Fire without covenant becomes chaos. Desire without covenant becomes addiction. Power without covenant becomes pride. Knowledge without covenant becomes confusion. But when fire enters covenant, it becomes holy. It becomes creative. It becomes the force that builds heaven and earth inside the human being. Then the Zohar speaks about the heavens and the earth that were created without form and without foundation. The foundation is called Yesod, and Yesod is connected with covenant. Without Yesod, without covenant, the lower heavens and earth cannot stand. They remain dry, parched, and unstable. This is not only metaphysical language. This is something we can recognize in daily life. When a person has no inner foundation, everything drains them. Their emotions become dry. Their relationships become dry. Their prayer becomes dry. Their discipline becomes dry. Even their creativity becomes dry. Because there is no channel connecting inspiration to embodiment. So the Zohar says the Torah was offered so the worlds could be sweetened, so Malkuth could be lifted into Binah, so judgment could be softened by mercy. In simple words, the lower world needs connection to the higher world. The earth needs heaven. The vessel needs wisdom. The dry land needs water. And that leads into the verse, "Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." So the Zohar says the waters are Torah. Water is flow. Water is wisdom. Water is mercy. Water is the living current that softens the dryness of existence. But the waters must be gathered into one place. And the Zohar identifies this one place with Israel, meaning the spiritual root of the soul that can receive Torah. We need to be careful here. This is not a license for arrogance. This is not about looking down on other people. In the inner reading, Israel means the part of the soul that can wrestle with God, receive divine instruction, and become a vessel for higher purpose. The nations in the inner reading are the scattered forces within us that do not yet want alignment. So when the Zohar says, some did not receive the Torah and remain dry, we can hear this inside ourselves. There are parts of us that want light, but not responsibility. We want blessing, but not discipline. We want mystical power, but not correction. We want comfort, but not covenant. And those parts remain dry. The dry land is not just the world outside. The dry land is the place in us where the water of Torah has not yet entered. This is why the phrase, "He created worlds and destroyed them," becomes very personal. Every time we build a life on something that cannot hold divine light, that world eventually breaks. A world built on vanity breaks. A world built on lust breaks. A world built on resentment breaks. A world built on spiritual performance breaks. A world on pride breaks. But a world built on Torah, mercy, and covenant does not break in the same way. It can be tested. It can be shaken. It can be humbled. But it has a root. The Zohar then moves into a very deep teaching about the small letter Hei of Abraham. In Kabbalah, Abraham receives the letter Hei as part of his transformation. Abram becomes Abraham. That Hei represents expansion, mercy, and the feminine vessel of divine presence. It is small, but it is powerful. Because sometimes the smallest opening is where the greatest light enters. The chapter says this small Hei fell down during the 5th millennium, and it connects this fall with destruction, dryness, and the loss of the temple. The first temple is wasted. The second temple is dried up. This is not only historical mourning. It is spiritual diagnosis. When the Hei falls, the vessel of the Shekinah falls. When the feminine vessel falls, the world loses softness, receptivity, and dwelling presence. Then Moses enters the picture. The Zohar says Moses wanted to bring proselytes under the wings of the Shekinah. On one level, this sounds compassionate. Moses wants to include, gather, and elevate. But the Zohar says there was a danger. Not every force that comes close is already purified. Not every mixed element has truly received the small Hei with awe and love. Because of this, Moses is told after the golden calf, "Go, get you down, for your people have become corrupt." The Zohar reads this as a descent of Moses from his grade. His grade is connected with the letter Vav, the line that joins above and below. The Vav descends with him, not to abandon him, but to guard him. This is a very subtle teaching. Sometimes a great soul descends not because it is evil, but because it has taken responsibility for souls that are still mixed, confused, and unfinished. Moses carries the burden of repair. He descends into the mixture so that the fallen Hei can eventually be lifted back. This is why the Zohar connects Moses with the mixed multitude, exile, reincarnation, and the war with Amalek. Amalek, in the inner reading, is not only an external enemy. Amalek is the force that attacks spiritual memory. It cools the heart. It says, nothing matters. It says, God is not here. It says, your covenant is meaningless. It turns living water into doubt and dryness. So the war with Amalek continues from generation to generation because the inner battle continues in every generation of the soul. Every generation has to face the force that wants to separate the Vav from the Hei, heaven from earth, God from dwelling, wisdom from embodiment. Then the Zohar gives a beautiful image. The letter Vav of Moses raises the fallen Hei. The masculine line raises the feminine vessel. The channel restores the dwelling. The covenant restores the presence. And when the Vav and Hei are restored, the divine name becomes whole. This is the heart of the chapter. Destruction is not the final word. Repair is the final word. The worlds that collapse reveal what cannot stand. But the soul is not meant to stay collapsed. The fallen Hei can be raised. The dry land can receive water. The scattered forces can be gathered into one place. The broken name can be made whole. So, what does this mean for us practically? It means we need to ask, what world am I building right now? Am I building a world that can hold light, or a world that will collapse under the weight of light? A person can build a world around being admired, That world is fragile. One criticism can destroy it. A person can build a world around desire. That world is hungry forever. A person can build a world around being right. That world becomes lonely. A person can build a world around spiritual image. That world becomes dry because it performs holiness instead of living holiness. But when a person builds around covenant, prayer, humility, discipline, mercy, and truth, that world becomes different. It becomes a place where the Shekinah can dwell. The Zohar is teaching us not to fear collapse in the wrong way. Sometimes collapse is mercy. Sometimes a false world must fall so the true world can appear. Sometimes dryness exposes where water has not yet entered. Sometimes the brokenness of the vessel shows us exactly where the repair must begin. The mistake is to think that because one world collapses, our whole soul is finished. That is not the Zohar's view. The Zohar says the Creator is not failing. The process is revealing. The false construction falls. The real construction begins. And this is why the teaching feels so alive today. We all know what it feels like to build something inside ourselves that looks strong on the outside, but secretly has no foundation. We know the exhaustion of holding together a version of ourselves that is not rooted in truth. The Zohar is saying, do not worship that structure. Do not keep feeding a dry world just because it is familiar. Let the water come. Let Torah, wisdom, and honest devotion reshape the vessel. Let the broken ladder be lifted. Let the soul become simple again. Because the true world is not the one we force into existence. The true world is the one that can carry divine presence without cracking under it, day by day now. So, in meditation, in prayer, in daily life, we can hold this simple kavannah. Master of the worlds, gather my waters into one place. Bring the scattered parts of me back into covenant. Lift the fallen hay within me. Restore the dwelling place of the Shekinah in my life. Let the worlds in me that are built on illusion fall, and let the world built on your truth remain. This is a serious prayer because it means we are not asking only for comfort, we are asking for alignment. And alignment sometimes removes what we thought we needed, but it also restores what the soul truly needs. Chapter 19 gives us a map of creation, destruction, and repair. It teaches that the destroyed worlds are not evidence of divine failure. They are the unrectified states that cannot endure without Torah, without covenant, without mercy, without Yesod, without the gathering of waters into one place. And it teaches that Moses, the Vav, descends into the broken mixture to raise the Hei. This is the work of every sincere seeker, to join heaven and earth inside the self, to bring water to the dry land, to restore the fallen presence, and to let the name become whole again. May the dry places in us receive living water. May the false worlds collapse gently. May the true world be built strongly. And may the Holy One gather every scattered spark back into its place. Shalom.